the Fakie Bigspin Heelflip, aka the Rick Flip. With this trick, your board does a Fakie frontside 360 heel flip, your body does a Fakie frontside 180, and you put them together and get the Fakie Big Heel. This is another one of those tricks where I think it's actually a lot easier than it seems, but we'll get into that later. Some tricks to learn beforehand are Fakie frontside 180. It's important to have these down so you're used to keeping your weight above the board while turning 180. Fakie frontside big spins are a really good trick to have for this because it's basically the same exact trick except without the flip. And finally, if you want, these are completely optional. You can learn a Fakie varial heel flip and a Fakie frontside heel flip. I say they're completely optional because these are two of my worst tricks, but I can do a Fakie Bigspin heel flip a million times easier than I can do either of those. So this trick is basically one fluid motion, and the main parts to it are just scooping and turning your body at the same time as flicking your foot out and getting the full rotation down. Foot positioning for this trick is a little funky, but it makes sense considering how much scoop you need. So get into Fakie position and put your front foot in that pocket at a pretty steep angle. And then your back foot is pretty much at the same angle except a little bit past the center of the board. And just for the sake of clarity, for this entire trick tip, this is going to be my front foot and this is going to be what I'm calling my back foot. So anyways, you're basically standing at a 45-degree angle with both feet on your board. Your front foot's in that pocket with your toes pretty much dug in there pretty well, and your back foot is turned 45 degrees a little past the center of the board. So check this out and look at my front foot. Watch how much of this trick is based off of the scoop. That's where all of the rotation and some of the flip is going to come from. And then my back foot just gives it a bit of a flick to carry it through. So the first thing that we're going to need to learn is how to scoop the board with your front foot. This trick is all about the scoop. That is basically the most important part. So it may seem pretty stupid, but if you've never tried this trick before, I would say this is your first step to learning how to get the scoop. With your feet in that position, you're basically just stepping off with your back foot and pressing down with your foot into that pocket. Notice how the board naturally kind of wants to turn behind you. If that little motion is what you're getting, then you're doing it right. So do that a few times just to get comfortable. The next step would be to do the same exact motion, except actually jumping off that front foot instead of just putting it straight to the ground. And because the scoop and the rotation of your body is all sort of one fluid motion, you're going to want to start to turn your body frontside as well. So basically just pretend you're doing a frontside 180, except you're scooping your front foot and letting the board kind of fly out there. So if you can do this, what you've basically just done is learned the basics of a Fakie frontside big spin. And it's to this that we want to add the heel flip, which is what we're going to learn next. So put your feet in that same position, except this time when you go to pop the board, instead of scooping it so it does the shove it motion, you want to just practice flicking your foot off like you're going to do a heel flip. You do need to add in a slight scoop and maybe just a touch of frontside turn, and that way the board will start to get that varial heel flip or laser flip motion. But the main point of this is just to get your foot into contact with the board so you can get the board to flip like a heel flip. It may seem kind of dumb, but if you're getting the board to flip behind you, as long as you're getting that heel flip and that contact with the board, then you're doing something right. So your next step is to take that Fakie frontside rotation with the scoop and combine it with that flip that you just learned. Now don't expect to land this trick standing still, because one of the big parts of this, which I'm going to talk about next, is your momentum. But right now you're just practicing trying to get the rotation and flicking your foot off the board in order to get it to rotate and flip the right way. You really have to make sure that when you're scooping the board, you're also turning your body front side, or else when you go to kick your heel for the heel flip, you're not going to hit the board at all and you're just not going to be able to flip it. So practice this little stupid thing, then practice actually jumping off of it to rotate the board, and practice turning frontside and flicking the board with your heel. Basically, you should have something that looks like this, and if you do, then you're on the right track. So I would say make sure you have all of these steps down before moving on to this next part. So the next step is to combine all these steps while you're moving in order to actually land this thing. So like with most tricks, what you're gonna wanna do is put these steps together while rolling fakie and just try and land with one foot. And honestly, at first, I really don't think it matters too much if you're landing with your foot on top of the grip tape or with the board upside down. I think the main important part is that your foot is actually just staying up above the board. A lot of this trick is about being centered over the board. So when you're practicing this 1 foot landing, as long as you're keeping it over the board and putting it back down onto it, I think you're gonna do pretty good. So if you're doing all the steps right, your first tries will probably look something like this for a while. Like with all tricks, there's little tweaks and things you can do to hone it in order to finally get what's comfortable for you in order to flip this trick and rotate it right. There are a couple other points to keep in mind while doing this trick. One important one is about the swinging of your shoulders. Just like with most tricks that involve rotating your body 180 or 360, you're gonna need to wind up your shoulders the opposite direction, and then when you pop, you're gonna wanna open them up, wind them the other way, and follow through. And notice as I'm winding up my shoulders, as soon as I release them, I've turned my body almost 90 degrees before I've even come off the ground yet. So that should basically show you how important the rotation of your body is in this trick. So it's basically just a mix of getting a really good scoop, getting a good rotation with your shoulders and your body, and your back foot will kind of just naturally give it the kick it needs as it comes outward and you turn your body. So I suggest practicing these moves over and over again, especially while moving, because the momentum going fakie is what's really going to help you get the full rotation, and just keep doing it until you finally land it. And one last little thing, if you notice that you're doing something like this, then you're leaning too far forward. And if you're doing something like this, then you're leaning too far backwards. Like I said earlier, this trick is all about centering your weight, so make sure you try and keep it right there over your board. So learn your fakie frontside 180s, learn your fakie frontside big spins. You can learn these tricks if you want, but like I said, they're not necessary. Then put your feet into that foot positioning and you can tweak it whether or not you need to. Practice the scoop of the board with your front foot and adding that with a little bit of pop and turning your body front side. That's the key to this trick. Then start to learn how to flick the board with the heel flip motion. Then you're going to combine these two motions and try and get the basic twist of this trick. And finally, practice all these steps while rolling, because the momentum of this trick while going fakie is definitely going to help you out to get the full rotation of this trick. Remember to also swing your shoulders and to keep your weight centered above the board. So here are a few of my Fakie Big Heels. Just watch what I do with both my feet and keep in mind that I feel like the main part of this trick is the scoop with your front foot. And if you look at my back foot, it does give it a little bit of a kick for the heel flip, but it's really not that much. So basically learn your fakie frontside big spins, but put your foot a little bit more into the pocket and then kick your foot a little bit further off the edge of the board. So I hope that I explained this well enough to help you out. And if you need any further instruction or help on this trick, then you can let me know in the comments below. And besides that, thank you for watching, and you can like and subscribe if you want.